Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
And welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm April Martinez.
And I am Sani Ketano.
And good morning on this lovely Tuesday morning after the long weekend, after the very, very, very long
It's the second day of August 2022. Yes. And of course, we're back from a long Emancipation Day weekend. And I know that a number of people, I'd say Belizeans all over the country, were moving around.
Yes.
They were either at the concert event in San Pedro over the weekend. Some people went down to Hopkins, others went down to Placencia, others stayed at home.
You know, I will tell you something. I think John and I were discussing this on Friday. There were so many festivities happening this weekend, but naturally, you know, the BTB Music Fest kind of overshadowed some of the festivities, but there were so many things happening in Corozal, Orange Walk, Cayo, PG had Yellow Ginger Fest, you know, Hopkins Day, Placencia had sporting events. There were so many different events happening this weekend. So if you found yourself stuck at home, there was something to do in every single district.
Well, remaining at home would have been a matter of choice for most people, right? I chose to stay here in Belize City, and I'll be honest with you, I enjoyed my weekend. It was the fact that I was home alone for the most part of the weekend, you know, solace and solitude. And me and my hammock.
Yourself a little bit. No, you took advantage of the relaxation of the long weekend.
I fell in love with my hammock, April. I fell in love with my hammock. I'll say that.
When was the last time you sit down in your hammock and just bliss?
I try to do it every Sunday morning. I'll take out my hammock, hang it up, and then I'll just, you know, relax and reflect. It's also my moment, I'll be honest with you in saying this, it's also my moment to be able to, you know, speak to God quietly, you know, kind of reflect on certain stuff.
That's good. The Emancipation Day festivities in Belize City never weren't loud.
I wasn't really like in tune with what was happening around the city on that level. I'll go as far as saying this. On Saturday, only because I had to purchase some fabric. It took me downtown. I didn't get what I wanted at that time, but it took me downtown nonetheless. And, you know, Albert Street was busy.
Yes.
The city council and the business community did their back to school sale along Albert Street. And it was, for the most part, well attended from what I saw during the time that I was there.
I mean, I guess we'll speak more about it later on, but, you know, the big news, the big story, the big festivity that was happening this weekend was, of course, the BTB International Music and Food Festival, which, you know, I did attend one of the days, and I have to say, for the limited time that it was being advertised and so forth, I really think that it went well for what I think they were hoping for in terms of a successful weekend. So I hope that people that went enjoyed themselves. I hope that, you know, everybody got what they needed from that weekend in terms of entertainment and in terms of food. And I know Channel 5 was out there. Dwayne was out there covering most of the weekend. I'm pretty sure they all needed some sleep after, 48 hours of nonstop footage.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think that we will discuss more of that later on in the eye opener. But
so yeah, I mean, all in all, though, the weekend was quite eventful. If you notice, I'm staying away from discussing the elephant in the room because there will be ample time for us to get into that. But I mean, for the most part, you know, the weekend saw its share of good and bad.
Yes.
Right? And I think for many Belizeans, they weren't really out for the bad. They were out to be able to enjoy themselves and, you know, spend time, with family and friends.
And you know, well, when we come up here and we talk, especially when we discuss it in Eye on the News, we always have to take that moment into consideration, that whenever there will be giant festivities, we have to be prepared for, unfortunately, we have to be prepared for some level of bad news.
Yeah.
But we'll discuss that more on the Eye Opener. But we're going to get moving into our show for this morning because we have so much to discuss today. And we will continue to try to motivate you this early Tuesday morning. We feel like a Monday. I know it feel like a Monday. I feel like that Monday. But our Eye Opener for today is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. When we are criticized or attacked, it is important to not take it into our heart and space. One of the most difficult challenges in life is learning not to take things to heart and hold on to it. Especially when we're younger, or if we're very sensitive, we take so much of what comes our way to heart. This can be overwhelming and unproductive if it throws us off balance on a regular basis. When we are feeling criticized or attacked from all directions, it becomes very difficult for us to recover ourselves so that we can continue to speak and act our truth. This is when we would do well to remember the old saying about letting certain things roll off us like water off a duck's back. Eventually, we'll be able to hear the feedback that others have to offer, taking in anything that might actually be constructive, and releasing that which has nothing to do with us. First, though, we tend ourselves compassionately by recognizing when we can't take something in from the outside without hurting ourselves. This is when we make like a duck, shaking it off and letting it roll off our backs as we continue our way in the world.
I'll begin by saying that the world is a tough place, right? In the sense that as individuals, we have to be open to criticism. Some criticisms are constructive, others are meant to tear down, right? Nonetheless, we have to have a certain sense of understanding that people will have something to say, good or bad. And by virtue of that, as we go through life, we develop a thicker skin, so to speak, right? If in my younger days, I was sensitive to being criticized, you know, as kids, we are ruthless in a manner of speaking. We're honest to a fault. Or we mimic and repeat what we hear from adults and think that it is okay to say. Yeah. And so because of that, there's always criticism. In our Belizean culture, it's difficult for us to accentuate the positive. It's easier for us to hang on to what we believe is bad about somebody or something, right? But on the other end of that criticism, if you know that personally you're doing your best to be able to maneuver and navigate a particular situation, and you are doing everything within your means to be able to put something positive or beneficial out there, and someone sets out to rain on your parade, you can't let that ultimately bring you down, or you can't allow it to get the best of you, right? You're supposed to accept the fact that, you know, I'm not here to please everyone. So some people will say yay, others will say no based on what I put and bring to the table, right? And so I think that's what I take away from the Eye Opener primarily. The fact that you have to be open to being criticized. It's part of the journey. You can't be surrounded at all times by yes men. Yeah. That's a very, very risky situation when the people around you don't bring to your attention certain things that may be going wrong. Yeah. And by doing so, they're effectively criticizing your position or your decisions or what have you.
Right, but I definitely agree, and I do think that constructive criticism also comes with how you shape that particular criticism or help, if I could even put it that way.
Your suggestions.
Suggestions, right? Because oftentimes the people that give you constructive criticism do have your best interests at heart. They want you to do better. They're not just giving you judgment to give you judgment's sake. So it's how you shape it or word it that does make the difference of being constructive criticism than just blatant judgment on whosoever is speaking. So I do agree with you. I feel like sometimes people do, it's difficult sometimes, especially when you are passionate about something or when you've done your best to bring out this particular piece or this project, and then somebody's like, well, you could have maybe worked here or there, and you don't see the criticism as constructive. You see it as you the rain on my parade because I work really hard on this. So it's oftentimes how you say and what you say in a productive manner that would make the difference.
Part of the eye-opener in my interpretation, and I guess it's to kind of build on what you've mentioned, not only should you be able to take criticism, you should also be able to critique or criticize, right? But as you rightly mentioned, the fact that words have meaning and tone, that has an effect on people.
Yeah.
So even if you're good intentioned, what you choose to say and how you say it is what ultimately has the effect.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And I'll be completely straightforward and frank in saying, look, I have struggled with the delivery method. Let's put it that way, right? I think as humans we all do. You struggle with being able to say the right thing with the proper tone of voice and what have you. And parenting is the ultimate test of that, right? How you speak to an adult perhaps is different than how you speak to a child.
Yeah.
How you interact with adults is different from how you interact with children. And so to finish up my little view on the eye-opener here, when you talk to a child, you don't want to be too critical. You have to allow that the child is also still learning. The child is still going through this process of development. So you can't just, arbitrarily criticize the child's effort at doing something. Whereas perhaps with an adult, you'll be a little harsher because, we'd say, well,
they don't got make the mistakes already.
Yeah. So that's just my view on the eye-opener.
I mean, I completely agree, and I feel that the more and more we have these, they're uncomfortable conversations, when you are talking about somebody criticizing or placing judgment or shaping the way you give that kind of suggestion and perspective on. So, try your best to see it from all angles and how you can criticize and take criticism in a constructive way. But we got to get moving into our show for this morning, and we have the weather forecast for you today. And I think our folks from the Met Service are still on vacate today. I hope they're still on vacation, but we will be giving you that general forecast for this morning. And
Good morning. Conditions will become less moist and less unstable today. However, a few showers are still likely over some areas. The 24-hour forecast is for sunny skies with cloudy spells today and partly cloudy skies tonight. Showers or thunderstorms will be isolated, except for a few more over central and southern districts today, then over the extreme south tonight. Winds over the open sea will be from the east at 10 to 20 knots, and seas will be choppy. Operators of small crafts should continue to exercise caution, however, for gusty winds and local rough seas near heavy showers and thunderstorms. High temperatures today will be around 88 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 93 inland, but only 82 degrees up in the mountains. The outlook for Wednesday and Wednesday night is for mainly fair weather with only isolated showers or thunderstorms developing. There is a low tide at 6:52 this morning, a high 12:47 this afternoon, another low 7:27 this evening, and another high at 1:29 tonight. The sun rose at 5:32 this morning and will set at 6:25 this evening. The moon comes up at 9:35 this morning and sets at 9:53 tonight. In the tropical weather outlook for the North Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico, tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next couple of days. With that, we end this report from the Belize Weather Bureau.
All right, there you have it. I always like it when they tell us that there's no tropical warnings for this hurricane season. Makes me feel better.
It's comforting.
Yes, definitely.
We're never in the clear
No.
during the hurricane season, but the closer you get to November,
Yeah.
to the end of November, knowing that, you know, the season is going without an active storm heading in our direction, you feel better that you know, you're almost at the finish line.
Yeah, so, well, we'll keep updated on that weather, of course, later on today and tonight, just to make sure that everybody else is keeping safe and staying dry, or, you know, maybe have an umbrella or two in their vehicle. So we got to get moving into our show for this morning. And even though it's Tuesday, we still have to give you the synopsis of the weekend with our eye on the news.
Sunday morning, a majority of Belizeans woke up to terrible news of an incident that took place in Hopkins village. First of all, we'll go on record to say that it's not the first mass shooting event that we have experienced as a country. That would have been back in 2008 at the Pot Pot Bar and Grill on Newtown Barracks, where several people were shot. Several people also died in that particular incident. So that's on record as the first mass shooting event. We go back to Sunday morning in Hopkins. You would appreciate that on Saturday, as I mentioned earlier, Belizeans from across the country traveled for the extended weekend. As much as there were people in San Pedro, a lot of people descended on Hopkins to celebrate Hopkins Day. And so the festivities went all the way through the night. Around 1 a.m., inside a crowded nightclub, Wabinaha Bar, restaurant and bar, a trio of young men, after an altercation moments earlier with another individual, returned and opened fire, not only on the individual that they had an issue with, but wantonly on the patrons inside the establishment. And so when we woke up on Sunday morning, it was to a statement from the Commissioner of Police with respect of this incident. For us in the media, the fact that this was Sunday morning and Tuesday would have felt like forever in terms of getting a handle of what the actual situation was, it prompted many of us to head south to investigate for our own what happened there. So I and my cameraman journeyed down to Hopkins on Sunday morning, and we were able to speak with several individuals, an eyewitness, a friend of the deceased, of one of the men, and of course the commissioner himself. So we'll begin this morning by going back to what transpired inside Wabinaha, and here's the first story. The carnage that brought to a bloody end a festive Hopkins Day celebration is the second mass shooting event to be recorded in Belize. On Sunday morning, Wabinaha nightclub was alive with music and dance when a trio of gunmen entered the establishment. What happened next was unthinkable.
When I step inside, I see this guy put his hand in here and start to fire shots. Next door, I close to him. I don't even know him. I don't know him, but it's a red-skinned guy.
That description matches 28-year-old Brian Andrews, one of 3 shooters who stormed the premises and unleashed hell on its patrons. Police Commissioner Chester Williams.
Sometime after 1 a.m. this morning, there was a dance at the Wabinaha nightclub here in Hopkins, during which time there was some altercation between a young man and a group of men from City River Village. This altercation, from what we have learned, resulted from a woman.
That unnamed individual was along with 23-year-old Nora Moro, a resident of Roaring Creek Village.
Apparently, there was a woman with the now deceased Moro, and the young men from City River Village were courting the woman, and the guy Moro went to inquire from them what the issues were. That turned out into an altercation between them, after which the gunmen left and briefly came back to the nightclub.
Francis Nunez, whose brother is the proprietor of Wabinaha, continues his account of what transpired.
And I slide underneath to cover myself, to shield myself. I went underneath the pool table inside. When I hear the gunshot, I say, oh my God, I get shot. And underneath the pool table, and I feel myself like that. I feel myself. I say, oh my God, why? This is what I'm saying underneath the pool table. And a Spanish boy came to rescue himself too. And you know, for me to cover, I push this guy with my feet. Yeah. I say, get out, boy, underneath pool table.
The active shooters took aim at their quarry, slaughtered him, and then began firing indiscriminately inside the nightclub. Patrons scrambled for cover as the bloodbath continued. Describe to us the aftermath then, after the shooting, the bodies, the people who are injured. Describe that to us.
Sir, that I don't know. I can't reveal to you with principle and respect. But what I see, that this person is shooting in the audience. It's a shoot. That's all I see.
The toll, when the shooting subsided, left 10 persons injured. Moro lay dead. Beside him was 56-year-old Emilio Garcia, a Honduran national who migrated to Belize many years ago. The well-known contractor was simply out to have a good time when he was mowed down in a hail of bullets.
Friendly person, father, friend, whatever. He's always there, man. He's always there to help out people, especially poor people who are struggling. I come to Gary, my eldest man, to deliver my wines, and I get their message that Emilio get passed away in the accident in Hopkins here.
How are you processing those?
Man, tight, really tight, because I got a situation home with my wife as well, and now I come to hear that my own best friend, closest friend, get killed in a mishaps.
8 others, including 3 police officers, were injured in the deadly shooting.
The 8 injured persons were taken to the hospital in Dangriga, where they have all been treated and released. So thankfully the injuries of those persons were minor and not life-threatening. Our investigation into this matter continues, and we have interviewed a number of persons. We have assigned senior investigators to the case, headed by ACP Alden Dawson, who is the head of National Crimes Investigation. We also have elements from the SPU on the ground searching for the 3 young men who are responsible for this particular incident. We believe that they may still be in the area. We have also detained 1 Canadian and have impounded his vehicle, as from what we're seeing, his vehicle driven by him was one of the getaway vehicles for the 3 gunmen following the shooting.
On the lam are Brian Andrews, 28-year-old Kenyon Moore, and 35-year-old Sherwin Moore. Police have issued an all-points bulletin for the capture of these 3 individuals.
So there's a lot that we're doing, but we know who we're looking for. We have just issued the wanted posters for those 3 individuals, and we're asking the general public, if they have any information in respect to where these persons may be, to kindly feel free to contact the 922 number 911 or the nearest police station.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano. So this was on Sunday. The immediate update is that these 3 suspects have been apprehended. On Monday evening, the Commissioner of Police once again issued a statement in which he mentioned that these individuals had been taken into police custody after being apprehended in the area of Silkgrass Village. Silkgrass, as you know, is the first village coming out of Dangriga. It's, well, along the Southern Highway, right? You'd have Silkgrass, then Hopkins, and then City River. So these individuals were traveling together when the police were able to capture them. There will be an arraignment either today or tomorrow. We're trying to find out from the police department in which jurisdiction these 3 individuals will be taken before the court. So that's where we are at the moment. A few other bits and pieces. The 3 police officers who were at the nightclub at the time of the shooting, they had been assigned to Hopkins to be a part of the law enforcement initiative, or and they were at the event. Obviously, nobody foresaw this particular incident, and so we have another interview that we'll share later in the news this evening that speaks directly to those 3 officers and the extent of injuries that they received and what have you. What I will do at this point, since there are a number of other stories that we're covering coming out of the weekend, in the interview that I conducted with Compol Williams, he also shared of a drug plane that landed in southern Belize. This is in the Creek-Esarco area. And the fact that while officers were already working in Hopkins, these events that were taking place there, and of course this nightclub incident, some of them had to leave the location in pursuit of a drug plane that was said to have been in that area. Well, ultimately the aircraft landed in the vicinity of Creek-Esarco. So it shows how thinly stretched the police department is in terms of being able to respond to certain situations. And so we'll go now to that interview with Compol Williams on the landing of the drug plane in the south.
We are in trying times, and I can tell you last night, again, we were faced with the challenges of having to be monitoring and running after planes that are in our airspace. And so we had officers who were assigned to Hopkins last night, who had to depart Hopkins to respond to a plane that was in our airspace, and subsequently leaving Hopkins without that patrol. And then the plane eventually landed in the Creek-Esarco area in the Toledo district. We managed to find the plane earlier this morning. It was burnt and the contents were not nearby. So there's a lot that we're doing at this time, and we're stretched extremely thin with manpower. We're stretched extremely thin with vehicular resources, but we're doing as best as we can with what we have to ensure that we keep our people safe.
So details of that particular drug plane landing, were also shared by the police department yesterday. I won't go into the specifics of that. Suffice to say that by the time the officers were able to reach this remote location, it was only the burnt vestiges of the aircraft that they were able to discover. The cargo had already been removed from the site, right? So we're not sure if the content of the aircraft was carried over into Guatemala or it is still in country. I think the police department is investigating that by canvassing the area. You would recall, just to sort of draw a comparison here, that the last time an aircraft landed in the Mountain Pine Ridge area, the content of the aircraft remained in country, and it was only a matter for the police department and its officers, the responding officers, to kind of wait out and kind of hold fort until the persons or the players were able to begin to move the cargo. So it's perhaps a similar
incident.
Yeah, or a similar method or modus that will take place here. Okay, so we move from that now to Belize City. On Thursday night, there was the execution of a well-known street figure here in Belize City, and it happened outside of the Love FM building on Slaughterhouse Road. That individual, many would agree, was a key player in one of the two feuding gangs in the Lake Independence area. We've been covering this story from last Sunday into Monday, where there was a shooting on LaCroix Boulevard that involved 3 individuals. Then there were 2 shootings on Monday, one which ended in the death of another former well-known street figure and the shooting of another individual moments later. That in itself placed the police department on high alert because of ongoing tensions between both groups. I will go on record to name them because the police department has already called out these groups. So you have the PIV gang, and then you have the Bacalans gang as well. And there is this tension. The proximity between the two groups is, the neighborhood is basically divided in two, right? And so many of us who live in that community describe the situation as sort of a powder keg. You know, it's very, very delicate. It's very tense at times and what have you. So on Thursday night, this young man, Alric Smith, was on air on More FM, right? He was there to give away some monies during one of their nightly shows. And upon leaving the building, he was met by a pair of gunmen who unleashed as many as 10 shots, killing him on the scene. Now, as I've mentioned before, Smith was regarded as a well-known player in the PIV gang. And so again, the tensions between the two groups was at an all-time high. This prompted the Belize Police Department and the Ministry of Home Affairs to put into immediate effect a state of emergency for Lake Independence. So when we, as residents of that community, woke up on Saturday morning, we were in a different situation where we now have heightened patrols on a regular basis, right? And this will go on for a while until tension quells. So I also have an interview with the Commissioner of Police where he discussed the new reality for Lake Independence residents as of Saturday morning.
Mr. Smith had just exited Love FM studio when he was ambushed by 2 men in a silver Equinox. He was shot fatally, and the persons managed to escape in the said vehicle. Since then, we have been doing a lot to establish the identity of those persons who were in that particular vehicle. But at this time, we have suspects. I'm not going to reveal their names as yet, because there's a lot more we need to do to be able to ascertain or to obtain the evidence that would be needed to make an arrest. But yes, in the wake of that, we did declare a state of emergency for the St. Martin's Forest area yesterday. And a number of the gang elements from PIV and Bacalan have been detained and are in police custody, and they will be processed as we normally do with other previous state of emergencies declared in Belize City.
So that is the present state of affairs with respect of Lake Independence, right? And we're hoping that with increased police presence in the community that things would kind of go back to a sense of normalcy, right? It's difficult during the summer months. Everybody is out. Everybody, you know, wants to enjoy him or herself. They want to be out, and it often leads to situations where there are frictions between rival groups. So we're hoping that this latest move by the ministry and of course the police department will return a sense of calm to the neighborhood.
I mean, just given that was a lot to unpack in a very short time, and of course we'll have all of these and more in our newscast tonight. But for the first situation that we were talking about in Hopkins, I understand the interview. I understand the situation that happened. What I can't wrap my head around, and this is, I guess, just something that I wonder if everybody else is thinking is, yes, I get the altercation. Yes, I get that man have them pride and ego and things happen. What I don't understand is why unleash your wrath at everyone in the establishment. That is what I don't understand. That is the part of the story that I am still trying to grasp. I get the situation. You already took out your anger at the person that you were having that altercation with. Why would you just unleash fire on everybody? That is what I don't understand. And to have all three against one come out in blades and just fire and harm everyone that had nothing to do with your small situation, and end up injuring a lot of other people and basically, murdering two innocent people, somebody that was just there to have a good time. So that's what I don't understand. I guess we'll find out at some point, right?
Well, that's going to be difficult. I mean, obviously, the commissioner has said that the motive seems to have been with respect to this individual. What went through the suspect's mind, I can't say.
Yeah.
I think beyond that, however, is the fact that there are serious concerns being raised regarding the establishment, right? And this is also going to be another story that we'll look at later in the newscast this evening. You have certain building codes, you have certain rules and regulations in place that ensures that certain establishments, right, for fire safety and otherwise, you have to have an ingress and an egress, an entry and an exit,
yeah,
that remain clear at all times, right? What we were made to understand is that at the time of this incident, the exit was properly bolted down and padlocked, right? And so when the shooting began, the patrons inside the establishment,
We're trapped.
they were trapped.
Yeah.
We are also made to understand that the gunmen, in essence, stood in the doorway. So
Allowing anybody to come out.
it's difficult for you to be able to navigate your way through a shower of bullets where the only exit at this point is where the gunmen are standing. You're in the line of fire, essentially. So the police department will be taking all the necessary steps to address this particular issue based on previous complaints that have been made about this particular establishment. All right, so we also do have an interview with the Commissioner of Police where he's explaining why this is a matter of serious concern, not only for the proprietor, but for people who go there, right? And the fact that perhaps there are other such establishments where we're not checking to make sure that these rules and regulations and protocols are being abided, right? So that's.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack with that story alone. Just motive, the construction of the establishment, the fact that these people. I'm not sure if you asked about the carrying of illegal weapons, if they're registered or not, and so forth. But that's also an issue to take into consideration.
Well, I'm certain there'll be a press conference this morning in which further questions will be asked, right?
Yeah. The fact that this is happening to us leads to several questions as to how can we manage. We can't foresee these kinds of situations coming. You rightfully said, and the Compol rightfully said, that we're stretched thin with certain resources and manpowers. So I am curious to see how this story will continue to unfold, because like you said, we don't know what they're thinking, but I don't know, man. The fact that just because a woman you ain't gonna shoot up a whole bunch of people in our establishment, I can't wrap my head around that. I can't. I really can't. The male ego, not that bad. I have to give an a bit of credit, right? But the reality is that this is an unfortunate situation that did not have to happen. These people that went to try to enjoy themselves didn't see this coming. Everybody ran for their lives. I don't know if Hopkins to be a place where people would consider to be laid back and chill and a tourist destination is going to hurt that particular village for a period of time.
In the wake of the incident, a number of organizations have issued statements condemning this act of violence, extreme violence at that, right? So you have the National Garifuna Council that has issued a statement. Hopkins is the largest Garifuna community in the country. And again, you would appreciate that Hopkins has been developing by leaps and bounds as a tourist destination in Belize. And so a lot of people travel down to Hopkins for long weekends, for Easter, for whatever it is. Hopkins has become a hub, much like San Pedro and Keycacher and Placencia, right? And so you have the NGC. You also have the government of Belize that came out with a statement condemning this act altogether. You also have the Association of Service Stations, right? They too came out with a statement in the wake of this incident. So you do have individuals and you do have organizations that have come forward to say, you know what, there is no possible way, and we urge that a thorough investigation be conducted and that these individuals, once found guilty, be brought to justice.
We can hope, and we will follow up more with this newscast later on tonight.
So there are other stories that we were following over the course of the weekend, and of course other developments that will be taking place this week, but we'll focus on those at 6 o'clock. So that does it for the Eye on the News this morning. Remember, you can catch our content on social media, on Facebook and YouTube if you're not able to sit in front of your television at 6 to view our newscast. That does it.
And of course, we are going to move into our show for this morning. It was a long weekend. There was a lot to unpack on Eye on the News, but we do have a jam-packed show for you this morning. And our first conversation for today will be with the Social Security Board. They will be in studio to talk to us about the new SSB portfolio and how it works.
Our second conversation of the morning will be with PAHO. We will be discussing the activities involved with Breast Week 2022.
Right, and then to wrap up our show for today, we will be discussing the Leadership Intervention Unit. Just kind of wrapping up with what we were talking about in Eye on the News, the gang flare-up. So we will have that discussion for you with William Dawson, Director of Leadership Intervention Union this morning. But before we get into all of that, we're going to take our first break, and when we get back, SSB.
Ouch.
I tell you no move.
Wow. You really can't get a mannequin for this, man? Really?
Well, son, if I never lend you the $2,000 to buy the kids' computer and the book, I may have the money to buy my mannequin.
It's definitely better to borrow from the bank than from your friends or relatives. This way, all you owe is money.
Would you like me to turn around?
That would be good. Turn on, turn on, turn on.
Take advantage of the back-to-school promotion currently being offered by the Belize Bank.
The Social Security Board, in collaboration with the Labor Department, takes this opportunity to remind insured persons of the requirements for compensation when on sick leave. Any employee who has worked with an employer for at least 2 months is entitled to 16 working days of sick leave with full pay every year. This is how it works. Upon approval of a sickness or injury benefit claim by SSD, 80% of the employee's weekly insurable earnings is paid as a Social Security benefit, and the difference in the employee's salary is paid by the employer. This is to ensure that the employee does not suffer any loss of wages when ill. After 16 days, compensation for sick leave is paid as a Social Security benefit only. Some conditions apply. This message is brought to you by the Social Security Board and the Labor Department. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
Make your summer better. Over $35,000 in cash and prizes with Smart Summer Sweepstakes. Here's how you can enter for a chance to win. Purchase any device, sign up for a smart postpaid, broadband, or VoIP plan, use $50 or more regular prepaid credit, do a SIM swap, or text to the short code. You win 8946. And in the body of the message, enter the number of inches you would like to purchase. Each entry costs only 50 cents.
Don't waste any time. You can be the winner of weekly prizes starting July 1st. All methods give you more chances to win. Airline tickets, overnight stays at numerous resorts, cash prizes, gift certificates, and much, much more. One lucky person will win the grand prize of a $10,000 shopping spree courtesy Court and Smart.
Promotion ends September 16, 2022. So make your summer better by getting in the race to win with Smart Summer Sweepstakes. Smart, bringing people together.
performers. It's your turn to take the stage. If you have the talent, we have the show for you. Here's your chance to perform in Belize's #1 children's talent show, Summerfest 2022. Singing, dancing, acting, whatever your talent, we want to see. Come audition on Thursday, August 4th and Friday, August 5th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here at Channel 5 on Coney Drive. Auditions are open to all children under 18 in any performing art. Don't miss your chance to be a part of the show. It's Summerfest 2022.
Been drinking all night. Feeling so high. Better not drive. Won't even try.
Been drinking all night. Feeling so high. Better not drive. Ain't gon' try. Been drinking all night. Feeling so high. Better not drive. Ain't gon' try. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. People die every day. I'm not going with ya. I'ma find my own way. I'm not going with ya. It's okay, I'll wait. Even good people make mistakes. I don't wanna realize when it's too late. Drinking and driving is never safe. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. If you're drinking and driving, I'm not going with ya. Been drinking all night, feeling so high. Better not drive, ain't gon' try. Been drinking all night, feeling so high. Better not drive, ain't gon' try.
And welcome back. We have been joined this morning for our first conversation by our friends from the Social Security Board. We have with us in studio this morning the General Manager for Finance at SSB, Leo Vasquez. Good morning. And we're also joined by Ms. Daisy Montero from the Investment Services. Good morning, Daisy.
Hi, good morning.
And finally, to her right is Miguel Gongora. He's the Manager of Investment Services at SSB as well. Good morning.
Good morning.
Folks.
Good morning, good morning. So let's get right into it, right? The benefits of the Social Security investment portfolio. Let's talk a little bit about the positive impact that it would have on Belizeans.
On benefits, okay, so let's consider in 2021, SSB, without NHI, we paid out $97 million to insured persons, be it from sickness benefits to pensioners. In current year, we're at $50 million, and we're expected to pay a little over $100 million in benefit payments. Again, the purpose of the social insurance of SSB is exactly that. We are here to pay the benefits. That is why the importance of the investments. Contributions alone will not suffice to pay the benefits. I'll give you a quick example. If a person who is 50 years old, let's say has never been in formal employment, let's say has come from the United States and starts 50 to 60, that person, and let's say we're doing right now at the 10% rate, or 520 is the highest band. Okay, employer-employee will pay $27,000, and for those ones calculating at home, we can check those numbers. That person retired at 60. He or she gets a pension payment from age 60 to 70. We will have paid out $81,000. So in 3 years and about 4 months, that person, everything that employer and the insured person paid, we will have matched at year 3 and 4 months. Everything else from there, we need, this is where the investments of the portfolio comes in to augment or to supplement that. And that is why we need the investments. The current portfolio, hopefully that is on the screen, the 454, I wish we were here today telling you that portfolio is at $500 million and our investment income is at $30 million. Those are numbers we need to get to in order for it to have the to pay the benefits. It's as simple as that, Isani and April.
There is a concern from the public. Now, I understand fully the need for SSB to make certain investments to be able, as you've mentioned, to augment, to be able to make payments to its customers, if I could use that. Have you guys done a proper job of educating the public to understand the need for these investments that would ultimately allay these concerns that they have? Because when people hear SSB is investing into DFC, when people hear SSB is investing into a private company or what have you, could be the citrus industry or whatever it is, people get concerned that you're using our money to be able to invest in other ventures.
Correct. Well, true, SSB, we could do a better job at the educating, and one of those things we'll be doing on the August 25th is the SSB Connect. We'll invite you, the media, employers, insured persons, pensioners, right? And so we can continue that discussion. But indeed, so that education certainly we're seeing that as required, and that's something we will be doing, be it infomercials, but to get the word out. But that does not negate the fact that investments are needed. And so, as I explained to you, if that employer is compliant, there's no reason why he or the company should not benefit from or apply to SSB for a loan. Okay? Well, yeah, it's really that.
Describe for me then the function of the investment committee, because a company or an organization or agency can come to you guys and say, look, we'd be interested in applying for a loan, a facility of $10 million, for instance. There are certain criteria that they would have to meet based on the proposal that they submit.
Sure.
Describe to us the process and the people who would ultimately approve the proposal.
There you go. Daisy?
Daisy, I want me to.
Okay, first of all, we have a list of loan requirements. It's a long list. I don't know if the guys can put it up. It's on slide number 4. You need to send in your loan application, which would include, for example, how much you're applying for, the rate, what will be the use of the fund, and if you're an existing business, you also need to submit your in-house financials depending on the loan amount. We have it by tiers from $250. The minimum amount is $250,000. And we lend out all the way up to $20 million. The term depends based on the needs of the company. We look at the in-house. Depending on the amount, it has to be reviewed by a practicing CPA. If it's over $1.5 million, it needs to be a full audited financial statement. You need to submit your legal documents. And even though you submit them, they may be certified. We at SSB, we still go to the company's registry and do a proper company search, to ensure that what they're providing is not falsified.
Due diligence.
Yeah, it's proper due diligence and, credible sources. So when people come and say, oh, that company doesn't exist or anything, the best way to go about doing research on a company is at the company's registry, and anyone can go for a small fee of $5. You just pay your $5 and you go and do your research there. You will see who owns the company, how many shares each person owns, the registered office, and all that information. Then we also have you need to send your projections, and when you send your projections, what we also do is vet the information. So you can send us whatever numbers, but we do our research, we do the industry research, we look at what other companies in the similar industry are doing. For example, if it's tourism, we look at the location, because the BTB has tons of information. So we look at where that company is located, and then we look at for example, the average daily rate. We look at the occupancy rate for that specific area, and we compare it to what the client has provided. And if we see that their one is overly optimistic or more than the average for that area, what we do is to go to the projections and we lower it, and to make it more similar. You have to be conservative. Then, of course, you also have to provide collateral, adequate collateral, and we from the clients, we ask them to send us their land titles. Then we also have to go to the registry. We have to do our registry search on that specific title to ensure that there is no lien or mortgage on that specific property. And the collateral coverage, well, the loan to value ratio has to be 80%, or collateral coverage 1.3. So the collateral has to cover the loan 1.3 times in case it, for whatever reason the business doesn't, succeed as we expect it to.
So what happens when the business doesn't succeed? Because then that would be, like Isanil rightfully mentioned, monies from the taxpayer dollars. So what then does SSB do to cover their mishaps?
That's where the collateral comes in.
Okay.
But we haven't had much situations where a loan has been in default, If you look at our financials, well, if you look for example, we haven't uploaded the 2021, but 2020 is right on our website. It lists all the investments line, each one individually, and the interest rate, and then from there you see the various sectors as well. And we haven't had much default or such, maybe 1. But what we do normally, we provide under IFRS 9, and that's where our finance comes in. But so also in case of those situations, it's already covered, So we make a provision annually. But in case of default, we would probably, like any normal financial institution or credit union, we would do advertise or public action, and
How do you remain competitive in an environment where other commercial financial institutions are providing loans and making facilities available at attractive interest rates?
Right, and so we're not here to compete with the banks.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of our loans are like the statutory bodies, the Board of Management, the Belize Airports Authority. But one of the things that we can, and of course with Treasury notes, but one of the things that we can say in terms of the rates, if that employer is compliant and paying for, and all insured persons, there are 5, 10, 15 persons on the payroll, that employer is making the payments, and they have audited financial, it affords them a better rate. So yes, actuarially we need to be about 5% above in order to sustain the fund. So we're not trying to get the 9-10% because, and some of the projects are just not something SSB wants to take on. But there's a little sweet spot that I think that we can, and that is why the DFCs come into play, the BMAs, the Board of the Belize Airports Authority. That little niche, is what we try to go after.
Respectfully, however, last week it made headlines where a private entity, which is not a statutory board,
correct,
applied for, and there is a proposal on SSBN to grant a loan of $7 million. This is to a private pharmaceutical company,
right?
Not like you've mentioned BMA or Belize Airports Authority or what have you.
Okay, sure. Our loans portfolio is about $88 million, and it has the BMAs, and it also has to people like Marie Sharp and other private sector loans. Again, this is a compliant employer with persons working at the pharmaceutical company. There's an offer, and so that offer has been made. But as you know, the investment framework of the SSB Act allows a period of time for folks to issue concerns right into the CEO of SSB, and until August 12th for this particular one that you're talking about. But it could be this or any other private company applying for a loan.
Why come to SSB though? Why not go to DFC or to another financial institution?
Because we have the better rates. We have a loan pricing formula. Remember, we deal with we have the contributions coming in, and we look at our we do a scorecard on the various companies, so as to come up with a credit rating, and that credit rating will give us the risk premium that we add to the loan pricing. The loan pricing includes basically the cost of capital, operational costs, and the profit margin that we require. So we add the risk premium. So depending on all the documents that you send in, we still can give you a better rate because we believe our cost of capital is lower than those of the banks or credit unions. So we are able to give you a better price or interest rate as such. Like DFC, you gave them, our actuary says, let's do 5%. That's what you need. But DFC says, being a sister company out there on lending for mortgages, because we don't get into mortgages because our staff is not that big. So let them handle the mortgages for consumers. So we gave them the 4.5 it is, right, interest rate, because they on lend. So just to help them up and help the public at the same time. But we believe we have the better price, so we can afford to give you a better rate.
Okay, let's go back a bit.
Yes.
Just for my own sake to understand better. So if there is not necessarily a competitive edge that you're seeking over the other financial institutions, but your interest rates
are better,
then it attracts other businesses, as opposed to saying, I will go to Atlantic Bank or Belize Bank, for instance. I could say, look, well, I can take my proposal to SSB and see if I could fetch a better interest rate on a loan over a particular period of time. Can you expand on that, just so that other people are able to fully understand how this works?
Well, you remember, we basically, even though we provide loans to the border management, Belize Airports Authority, and those, and we invest in treasury notes, the private companies are welcome to apply. Depends on the amount. Later we are looking into syndicated financing with another financial institution at DFC, because sometimes we have two cases right now with 20 million. So I know we want to do the 20, but syndicated financing, you distribute the risk. So, the loan pricing is fair. So I say they can just apply like any normal entity. We have an application form, and they can fill it out. We mail it to you and submit your documents, projections, financial statements. We do due diligence, site visits, and everything, just like any normal institution or credit union.
But you say you don't do mortgages?
Because we don't have the manpower.
Business loans.
Okay. Yes.
Well, just say we're open for business. And that's what we also have, an industry sector, and I don't know if you can put it on the screen.
Talk to us about the industry sector.
Right, so this is set from our investment strategy committee, set by the board of directors, and they can balance their portfolio. So we have from agriculture, real estate, and it pops up there. It can show just about tourism and their various limits, and the portfolio is X amount, and there's a percentage that we want to get into. And it may change from year to year. There's a balancing that we try to do. So those rates change. But again, being a compliant employer, audited financial statements or reviewed financial statement allows one to get a better rate. One of the things that we had promised when we did the contribution reform back in 2018, 2019, in 3 phases, employers said, listen, there's really nothing for us. Everything accrues to the insured person, right? Which is true. And that is why one of the things we said, well, listen, because of your being compliant and because of you getting financial statements, it affords you a better rate. So our rates will always be attractive in that regard. So if you're compliant, financial statements, you can get a better rate. Again, if you fall in line with our sector limits, and that is where it changes from year to year, that rebalancing or balancing of the portfolio from one year to the next. But that is the reason why we can stay competitive. But the fact is, the need for investments is there, and we are open for business.
So we understand the autonomy of the Social Security Board in terms of it being able to make certain decisions as to the monies that it has in its portfolio and who will be the beneficiaries of certain loans and what have you. I think one of the questions that I have, and I'll put it here, perhaps it's for the actual board of directors to respond to, but I'll still ask nonetheless.
Sure.
when you have none other than the government of Belize raising certain concerns about a loan application or a proposal, notwithstanding the fact that you are an independent, autonomous body and you can take the recommendation and still proceed to granting the loan, how does that process work? Because when you publish a notice that says, okay, we intend to lend X amount of dollars to this particular business or to this individual or what have you, you are telling us then that during that period of time, we can raise any objection based on what we know about this individual or company or what have you. But we've never really heard of the government, for instance, going on record to say, look, we have a serious concern about this particular business or the principals behind this particular company who are applying for a loan.
Okay. So, and I guess you're talking about, in this particular case, the Pharmacy Express. Okay, right. And so, again, the Act allows that 2-week notices and allows the public to submit their concerns in writing to the CEO of SSB. We do know in the case, for this particular, when the CEO of the Ministry of Health, Wellness, has presented those concerns to only the CEO and to our chairman, we have to allow the process to play out until August 12th. At that point, all the concerns are compiled and then will be presented again to the board of directors for a decision. So until that time, we don't know whether it merits consideration or not. But the process is in play because we are following the Act.
Procedures.
Yes, the framework allows for that, and so that's in place. So if the government, as in this case, has a concern, of course, we will listen to that, and it has to be considered. I don't know what was said, but that consideration will be presented in total, in its totality, to the board of directors for a decision. So until August 12th. So by the time SSB Connect comes around, we will have something for you. But we can't tell you what that is because it's safe to say.
It's safe to say, however, though, that the government's objection would carry more weight than if it came from an individual Belizean who says, you know what, something is untoward with that individual borrower or that company or what have you.
Well, I believe that may or may not be true, but because we've also, it is not the first time, because we've had the Santanders and stuff where the public, where business-wise it made perfect business sense. It did not go through because of the public outcry and affiliation or with Guatemala. Okay, but they're doing quite well. We lost auto lawsuit on another one on a national gas company. So be it. But again, we give all considerations are given, be it the government or not.
And remember, once you get through with the loan analysis and appraisal, it goes to the investment committee, made up of 4 members, 2 of which are GOB appointed. Once, if that's recommended by them, it goes to the board for approval. The board consists of 9 members, of 5 of which are government appointees. So we just follow the process.
You mentioned something really quickly, and we're running out of time, so I want to get all of the points into the conversation. You said Social Security Board Connect, SSB Connect. Can you give us a little bit more detail about what that is, what that means, and what we can look forward to?
Right, so we start this with a chance then, because we're only scratching the surface here with investments. This is a chance for us. We will make a presentation, but we can talk about anything from registration, customer service, operations, investments, benefits. You know, because employers have certain questions related to the 15As and the forms. You as a pensioner may have, I want more benefits, and so you charge me X, and so there's a lot. But we have a chance at SSB to talk more about SSB, everything SSB, because you said maybe the education needs to happen, and so this is a chance for us to go and talk some more about what we do. at SSB. Branch operation folks can tell you all about their registration and stuff that outside of this investment finance group. But that sort of thing is necessary, and that is our chance to go back to the public and tell you, listen, this is what we've been doing for you. Perans is another platform. Again, that brings up a whole things in terms of contribution history. One can see all their contributions. So I keep my employer in check. I know exactly, I can calculate my benefits or expected benefits. That's going to be important. But that's a chance for us to explain what all we're doing for our insured persons, employers, and of course our pensioners.
That's on the 25th at the Biltmore.
At the Biltmore, yes. But you will definitely get an invitation, and the media houses.
There was another story that was run last week. Now this has nothing to do with the business sector and accessing loans. It has to do with a beneficiary who came forward in the media to say, look, he's disabled based on an operation that was a surgery that he had to undertake and what have you. I'm not sure if you guys are the right persons to speak to that, but generally speaking, how do certain processes work where people are accessing assistance from SSB, either disability benefits or what have you?
Yeah, I must confess, I am not. Yeah, this group is definitely not the group to answer that question. I do know of, I'm going to say his name, Garbett. I could be wrong. I'm not sure what's his name. And I believe the CEO is handling that matter. But just like if one is disabled, again, there is a process that one follows in terms of medical board and the percentage of disability, and either a grant is given, a pension is given, and one can also, if you don't like it, you're given a certain number of days to say, listen, I object to this for 30 days, and it goes to another, I believe it's an appeals tribunal again, there's a process in play, and that is where the operation folks could then better answer those questions. That may be an SSB Connect question, because I don't have all the particulars, and I'm not going to speak for them. But those are relevant questions that person, if I'm that person, would want to know. And so I believe the CEO is addressing that matter or has addressed it. But if not, it may spur another question from someone. They can raise that matter in writing right now, or come visit us and let's talk at the SSB Connect.
How do you guys, from a public relations perspective, SSB is heavily criticized by the public. It's almost as if you make a certain decision and you expect that you will catch flack for it. If it's good or bad, either way, the public is going to come your direction and say, look, you're using our money, or we can't access the services or the benefits the way we want, and what have you. From a PR perspective, how do you guys, put forward some sort of like a sensitization campaign for people to properly understand this is the function of the SSB? While yes, it's based on your contributions, the autonomy granted to us under certain act or certain statutes or what have you allows us to be able to do certain things with the money. As people, for whatever reason, believe that that's my money, I hold on to it dearly. You need to ask me if I'm okay with you investing my money. How do you guys
maneuver that?
Well, it's a good thing that my PR folks they're listening right now, so they will. And so back to sensitization, educating, that those are things the second time you brought it up, and it seems to be not the first time it has come up. You brought it up 2 times, like I said. It's something that SSB, we need to do a better job, and we will.
Educating.
Yes.
Inclusive of investments.
Yes, indeed. So, so the Act allows us to do certain things, and it's your contribution, but our commitment is to ensure that there's money to pay that pension debt. And really, that is the biggest line item in benefits, and that is something we take seriously. And that's our fiduciary duty, and we shall. So, not everybody's going to like the decisions. Yes, and you can't please everybody all the time. but we do our darnest to ensure that the funds can cover your pension. At the end of the day, pension, the money is there to pay your benefits.
I mean, like I said, we could go on and on when it comes to questions about certain benefits and so forth. And I guess this is not a question for you per se, maybe something to discuss at the Connect.
Sure.
But discussing how you raise your rates for those that pay Social Security monthly, you know, especially those that don't get pension, but they will collect Social Security at the end of their lifetime or whatever contribution to their place of work. At one point it is X amount of dollars, and then at some point it is this amount of, and the rates rise, but we're not being told why or how those numbers come to be. We just know that Social Security go up this month, right? So I guess that would be another conversation to have at the Connect.
Right, and I guess a lot has come from the contribution reform. So currently it's 10%, right? And that started at the average weekly insured of $55 up to $520. And there are bands of general by $40, but the rate is 10%. And it's split between employer and employee. So until the next contribution reform, or unless we run into deficit, that the 10% is where we are. So 10% depending on if I make $200 for the week, or $300 or $320 or $400, $440, $480, pick a number. It is 10% split between employer and employee, and of which then 80% of that is for your short term, and of course you get a maximum of 60% for your long-term benefits. But again, we can explain all of that.
Well, I mean, we are completely out of time.
Okay.
And so I don't know if there's any final words that you'd like to say to the viewers before we wrap up.
Well, again, SSB Connect, please, we're inviting you. Come, let's talk, let's dialogue, let's talk some more. But everything SSB.
The 25th.
On the 25th.
At the Biltmore.
That is correct.
Okay.
Time?
Thank you.
What time is our time?
I do not know. It's the 2nd of August. You have enough time to get it out to you.
We'll get an invitation. But thank you all so much for coming in, and I hope that we'll continue the dialogue, right?
Anytime.
And with that, before we get into our second break, we were introducing Phoenix Boutique's Look of the Week.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Welcome to the Phoenix Boutique. Here's our look of the week. We have our marble earrings from Meraki, Belize, our cider printed bell sleeve blouse, white Zara shorts, Tommy Hilfiger wedges, and we topped it off with a Michael Kors sling bag.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
I am proud to be a Belizean.
I've always enjoyed the different flavors of my country. Every nook and cranny has its own unique taste.
Our
history, rich with culture. We've come so far since our independence. Our flag, rivers, mountains, our people, diverse and strong.
Looking back, I am proud and honored. We must continue to preserve and conserve our culture and country for the next generation.
This is our Belize. Respect it, cherish it, love it.
I'm on my way to Benny's, where I can get what I need and save some money. After 75 years in the business, nobody do it like Benny's. Hello, how may I help you? Anything you need, we got you. Whether it tools or tiles, lights and fans, we are serving with a smile. Genuine plumbing and electric supply, quality construction supply, heating and air condition, 100% Belizean. Benny's, celebrating 75 years. Quality and savings, quality and savings. Benny's, celebrating 75 years. Quality and savings, quality and savings. Benny's, celebrating 75 years. Quality and savings, quality and savings.
Your Tuesday night entertainment is back. KTV The Remix Season 4.
KTV!
Come on out and win fabulous prizes and the chance to compete in our halftime challenge. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Coney Drive at $3 for children and $5 for adults. Mask will be required. Or you can watch it live on Channel 5 or streaming on Facebook. The show starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 4. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
KTV!
Wow. Oh my God, she drunk. No hurry, I got this. My goodness. Oh my gosh, it's still the artist.
Being the hardest.
The artist.
But you had way more than 2 drinks tonight, love, which is a legal limit to drive. What about you? Can you drive?
Well, I was drinking soft drink all night, so I can drive her home. Thanks, Bree. Of course, Tricia, you know I got you. You're my girl.
That's what I like to see. Friends don't let friends drive drunk, cause you can't replay in a real life. Stig says so. Can't replay in a real life.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Reduce your risk of viral illness like the flu or the coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water or with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing or sneezing with a tissue. Throw away, then wash hands immediately. Avoid close contact with anyone who has the cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or nearest health center and share your travel history. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
Back with our second conversation for this morning, all to talk about PAHO's Breastfeeding Week of 2022. And in studio with us, we have Dr. Edwin Bolastig, the Advisor for Health System and Services. And we have Alondra Ezegiri, who is the National Consultant for the Non-Communicable Diseases. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, right before we came on camera, we were having this conversation about why we're still talking about the importance of breastfeeding and why PAHO is highlighting Breastfeeding Week. So can we get into those details?
Sure. Okay, let me ask Alondra to start with the general specifics and then the general things, and then I'll go into the specifics of it.
All right. I think it is important to promote this year's theme for Breastfeeding Week is Step Up for Breastfeeding, Educate and Support, because there's a lot of miscommunication, misinformation, myths that surround breastfeeding, and we have a lot of challenges as well. There's a big stigma around breastfeeding, so a lot of times women feel embarrassed to breastfeed in public, and even having the spaces and an environment and the line of support within the society to breastfeed the child, and also not understanding the main importance of breastfeeding a baby. So as a background information, breast milk has a lot of properties and a lot of benefits, not only for the baby but also for the mother. When it comes to the baby, breast milk does have all the nutrients, all the energies. The breast milk is clean, it's safe, and it has all the antibodies that the baby needs. Also, when it comes to the mothers that breastfeed their babies are less likely to develop diabetes, develop breast cancer or ovarian cancer. So there are a lot of benefits, not just for the baby, for the mother, and when it comes to cost as well, it's free of cost. So there are there are a lot of benefits that we can highlight, and even for the babies, they're less prone to develop diabetes, they're less prone to develop leukemia, develop obesity and other non-communicable diseases. So breastfeeding does play a very important role in managing the double burden of malnutrition.
What happens when a mother can't breastfeed, or when she doesn't have enough to pump out for her child?
That's a myth.
That's a myth?
That's a myth. Every woman that has a baby has the ability to produce enough milk for the baby. It's very wrong when we hear people say the baby won't get full or the breast milk is not enough. The milk is enough. The baby will get full, and the baby can drink the milk in free demand. So there's not like 3 times a day that the baby can eat. No, the baby can eat as much as he wants, and the milk will be enough. So it's that fear and myth that people tend to have, that the baby won't get full, so I need to get baby extra formula and what's not. It's not. So you can really just depend on the breast milk that the mother produces to provide for the child.
So I'm thinking, you have some women, some mothers who are reluctant to breastfeed based on what they believe the effect would be on their breast afterwards, right? Or during the process, right? And then because of that, they would prefer using a bottle to feed the child with. But then you're being told, or I've been told that that one-on-one time that the mother has with the child breastfeeding creates a certain bond, right?
Correct.
That allows for the child to have a certain connection, brain development and all of these things, versus giving the child a formula.
Right.
The formula, does it have the same nutrients or what have you as the breast milk? Let's get an explanation.
Okay, let me start with the composition, right? It does not have the colostrum. The colostrum is the one that's first expressed during, that's why it's important that within the first hour of life that you latch on the baby. Because one, it's the skin-to-skin contact that protects the baby. It has a protective effect on the survival of the baby. That's one. Two is that the first breast milk that expressed is what you call colostrum, and it's very packed with antibodies. And that's another protective effect on the baby. And that's why those are not, the deaths of babies that were not breastfed is higher, and that is costing the health system.
Right.
Because, so in terms of, that's a kind of an exchange. If you're concerned about body image versus the survival of the baby, you know, and the bonding that you create for life, and also people may not know that it increases intelligence. Breastfeeding, and so in fact, there's a productivity loss of 300 billion globally because of the loss of IQ of children who are not breastfed. So imagine the whole impact on the world, the global public health impact, the productivity, the economic productivity is of 302 billion is lost globally just because we are not breastfeeding our children.
Even if you use, even if you're using a pump to extract the milk,
right.
while the child, the baby still gets the colostrum and what have you, that skin-to-skin contact.
Right.
I want to kind of continue that on that subject matter, not just from maybe the mother not wanting to breastfeed, but the stigma that comes with breastfeeding in public or in your business area, right? So there's still this weird taboo of a woman breastfeeding and nursing her child in public. Is this something that you all are trying to make more awareness for?
One of the reasons why the theme is Step Up for Breastfeeding, Educate and Support is because we want to strengthen the chain of support for breastfeeding. Not just at home, you know, not just mom, dad. We want to promote nannies, you know. For when the woman goes to work, someone has to stay at home and take care of the baby. You can extract your milk and leave that milk stored properly, and the baby can still consume the breast milk and not have to use the breast milk substitutes. And even at work, you know, being able to have that safe space in which the mother can go in and extract her breast milk properly and store it properly and then take it home for the baby. So it's that whole process that we want to promote and enhance, that it's very important as a society that we have to come together to get this going and really just have every mom to want to breastfeed their child. And even if you can't do it from the breast to the baby all day, every day, you can still do it from a cup or a baby bottle, but it can still be used to do the breast milk itself and not use the substitutes.
Yeah, so part of our advocacy is for workplaces and even public spaces like airports, you know, malls or what have you. You know, to have that, to create that space where the woman could express herself or breastfeed the baby. So whenever and wherever there is demand for breast milk, that that the society allows for it. You know, while addressing the taboo of doing it in public.
How are we in terms of percentages getting our mothers to breastfeed their children?
Okay, so if you look at, well, Belize has improved a lot, right? In 2011, the UNICEF survey, the mixed survey, showed like 14.7, and now it's in the 2015 mixed survey, it's now at around 33%, which is really high, and we should congratulate Belize for the efforts, because they have what you call the mother-baby friendly hospitals, health facilities. It's present in 7 hospitals and 4 polyclinics. And they're already also advocating it in private health facilities as well. So which is a very good initiative, and that's how they were able to double the rate. However, the regional target, the global target is 50%. So which means that while you have doubled the exclusive breastfeeding rate, there's still ways to go to reach the benchmark.
We've come a long way, though.
Yeah,
because
you did.
I could recall many years ago that you once had people in rural areas who freely breastfed their kids. They don't have bottles, they don't have access to formula, what have you. And then there was sort of like a transition to where breastfeeding was not only frowned upon in public spaces, but the notion of breastfeeding altogether was sort of left behind, where people are heavily reliant on purchasing alternatives for breast milk. So now we're at a point where we're actually educating ourselves that notwithstanding the availability of the alternative, that actually engaging in breastfeeding is the best route to take in terms of wanting your child to have the proper development, mental, physical, and what have you. There's still a way to go, though.
Yes, we need to remember the impact of marketing.
Yeah.
There's a report that recently released by WHO in April that showed the impact of the social marketing, the marketing in social media, using like competitions on Instagram, purporting to promote education, all of that. But this is driven by the industry, which is a 55 billion industry. Remember, so imagine the interest, the vested interest here, in terms of ensuring, the subliminal, the effect on the subliminal images on women not wanting to breastfeed, but rely on breast milk substitutes and its products, the attendant products like the teats, the pacifiers, and all of that. It's a whole industry. Remember, it's a 55 billion industry.
Yeah.
But we need to remember that on the other side of the equation, while it's a 55 billion contribution to the global economy, the cost of care for the illnesses brought about by not breastfeeding is 53 billion. So it cancels the effect.
Yes.
And then the 302 billion of economic losses because of lower IQ, is 300 billion. So it clearly wipes out any contribution of the breast milk substitute industry to the global economy.
I mean, I sit here and I was trying to figure out why we're still having this conversation about the importance of breastfeeding in 2022. So walk us through what PAHO has in store for this week in terms of your activities and your awareness campaign.
Okay, I'd like to invite Alondra to speak to that, and I will add to that,
Okay, well, PAHO, globally they're doing a webinar on Breastfeeding Week. And we have also partnered with the Ministry of Health. We have partnered with the Institute of Arts. So we are having a photo exhibition that promotes Breastfeeding Week that will be held next week. So those are like the main two activities that we have been able to plan. But I do understand Ministry of Health is also planning other activities for this week.
Yeah, so the webinar on the 4th, so you go to our PAHO website, and you'll find our webinar there. It's going to happen at 8:30 a.m. Belize time, and it will speak about the importance of breastfeeding, of course, and the experiences of other countries, Colombia, Mexico, not just on the benefits of breastfeeding, but also on the impact. The one we're talking about, the impact of the industry on breastfeeding.
I recall there was a campaign many moons ago when I was a child. The Breast is Best campaign. It was a local campaign where there was public awareness being made about the importance and the impact of breastfeeding. And I think because it was so catchy, people are able to remember the message. Sometimes when we do these communication campaigns, we tend to want to put a very big message where people get lost in the process versus having something that's straightforward and it drives the point home. That, I believe, was one of those campaigns where it resonated with a lot of women and men, families, I should say, because as a child, I grew up understanding that.
Yes.
And I'm saying it's those kinds of messages that perhaps we need to go back to. Maybe not that specific one, but we could tailor certain things where it's more contemporary, but it gets the point across in terms of people understanding how important it is for us to be able to breastfeed our children.
Yeah, I do agree with you. We have to counter social marketing. We have to counter the marketing, the aggressive marketing of the industry with social marketing, with the kind of messages that will resonate with the people, and stick it in their brains.
I mean, we have, especially during the pandemic, we had quite a number of new mothers coming forth, and this particular campaign or idea where you want to breastfeed your baby, it's easier. Why is it that we think or we believe that breastfeeding in an open space is unsanitary or taboo?
I think it's just the misconception of people seeing a woman taking out her boob or her breast to breastfeed the child. And you're in a public space, so you don't know if there's dirt or if the areas are sanitized. So it has to do a lot with that clean area and with people seeing it wrong. I think it's just people not accepting the fact that it's something very natural and that we want to see women breastfeeding. So I think it's just that misidea that we have that you shouldn't be breastfeeding or showing your breast in public when your child is sucking.
We also look at the idea that some people would want to bring in social status into the whole thing because perhaps there are some people who are of the mind frame that I am from a certain class, so I don't involve myself in breastfeeding openly. That is reserved for people who come from certain lower status or from rural areas and that sort of. But they're not looking at the overall health benefits, or the broader or universal picture. They're only looking at where they fall in based on the perception that society has of them.
Yes, Alondra and I were talking about, sometimes the status symbol that the brands also give you, like you're using this brand, this kind of teeth, this kind of bottle, it's a whole kind of, again, we're caught up in the commercialism, in the crass materialism of, and that's where we're being preyed upon by the industry. That vulnerability to the social status, to the, that kind of marketing.
Well, we are quickly running out of time. These conversations are going by so fast. Is there anything that you would like the general public to know, particularly about Breastfeeding Week and the campaign?
Yeah, so the theme is educate and support. So educate everyone. Educate the mothers, educate what we call the warm support chain, warm chain of support. The husbands, the family members, the nannies, the workmates, the society in general, and the whole health system as well to support. So it's everybody's business, to support breastfeeding. And then support in terms of ensuring that there's an enabling, environment for the mothers to be able to express their milk, or give the milk to their babies. It's really just allowing for that to happen.
Well, I want to remind you guys of the benefits. There are numerous benefits of breastfeeding a child, and breast milk will never compare to a formula. So the baby should be getting that breast milk from the mother, and it's always going to be a better choice.
Yeah. As you said, breast milk is the best. So I think that's the message. That's what we should take home with.
You brought it back, isn't it?
Sometimes we gotta go back and revisit the past in order for us to strengthen our way forward, right? So.
Correct. I agree with you perfectly. There are ways to go, and let's go back to the basics, guys.
I like that. If you're not broke, no fix it, right? But with that, we'll take another break, and we'll be back for more OYE, so stay tuned.
I'm always on the go, and the country is my home. So when I want to get away from it all, I immerse myself with my favorite movies, all from the new Smart Stream app. It's easy to use this service. Purchase your movies from the app and use your mobile data, Smart Stream data packages, or smart broadband to stream and enjoy.
Be like me and stream on the go with Smart Stream.
As a parent, raising a family has its challenges.
How many times have I told you not to play ball in the house?
But growing up in a family has its challenges too.
I can't take this no more.
Let me share a little bit about what mine was like with you.
Uncle, where do you get your information from?
Right up on Facebook, you show me.
Guess what? Lisa got her period.
But don't get me wrong, we had fun too.
Well, like me, like 1, 2, 3.
I can't wait to share more about For We Family. Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
Your Tuesday night entertainment is back. KTV The Remix Season 4.
KTV.
Come on out and win fabulous prizes and the chance to compete in our halftime challenge. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Coney Drive at $3 for children and $5 for adults. Mask will be required. Or you can watch it live on Channel 5 or streaming on Facebook. The show starts at 8 p.m. at the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. KTV The Remix Season 4. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5. Your Tuesday night entertainment.
Reusable plastics. Did you know that until we find an alternative for plastic and all its uses, we will continue to need plastics, such as in the health sector? Plastic becomes a huge problem for Belize when it becomes waste and is improperly disposed of. When it is thrown on the side of the road and in our rivers and seas, it's eaten by animals and in turn by people, and it becomes an environmental and health issue. It costs us money for disposal, filling up dumps and landfills, and paying for associated healthcare. So what can you do? Choose to refuse single-use plastics is step 1. Step 2, instead, use the plastics that were meant to be reused, like coffee cups, water bottles, and food containers. We're not talking about buying a $1 bottle of water. I mean, you can, but how long will that last you? Reusable plastics keep plastics out of the environment for a much longer time and are even better than other forms of plastics like biodegradable or even compostable or bio-based plastics. By reusing, you are also saving money since you aren't rebuying the same thing over again. Think about it. How many bottles of water do you buy every week? How much does that cost compared to the cost of a reusable bottle? Imagine what you can do with the extra money. Click on the link below to see what you can do to help end the nightmare of single-use plastics. I'm Alison Castillo, and now you know.
I'm always on the go, and the country is my home. So when I want to get away from it all, I immerse myself with my favorite movies, all from the new Smart Stream app. It's easy to use this service. Purchase your movies from the app and use your mobile data, Smart Stream data packages, or smart broadband to stream and enjoy.
Be like me and stream on the go with Smart Stream.
Hola usuario de eCash, La aplicación eCash está disponible en español. Cambiar el idioma de tu aplicación de eCash de inglés a español es rápido y sencillo. Deja mostrarte cómo se hace. Primero, abre tu aplicación eCash. Introduce tu PIN. Toca el icono More en la parte inferior de tu pantalla. Selecciona Security. Selecciona Language. Y luego selecciona Spanish. Vuelve a introducir tu PIN y ya está. Tu aplicación de eCash está ahora en español y puedes seguir disfrutando de tu cartera digital eCash. La aplicación eCash de Belize Bank te hace la vida más fácil.
We are back just like that. Our Tuesday has come to a conclusion.
Well, on the show.
On the show, because we still have our day jobs to go do.
Tuesday is just beginning.
Yeah.
Because I'll have a long day ahead.
Absolutely.
But when you look back at the two conversations that we were able to have this morning, I think the fact that we had the representatives from the Social Security Board on set to be able to enlighten the public on how certain functions and how certain processes take place with respect of investments and, you know, facilities being made available to companies and other statutory bodies that are seeking financial assistance. I think for them to be able to kind of elucidate as to how the process works, puts them in a slightly better shoe. Because to combat public speculations, public concerns, some of perhaps the innuendos that exist out there with respect to how things are happening with our contributions, I think what is needed when I listen to what was being shared, what is needed to a great degree is some sort of public awareness campaign. Like you need to be able to put the proper information out there so that people could understand.
Right. And that kind of pairs well with what they're trying to do with SSB Connect, right? Properly educate the public on how things work and the procedures and the registration forms and so forth. I really appreciated that they came in and said, you know what, this is what we are in charge of. Whatever questions you have, there are different bodies within SSB, which is also something that the public doesn't know, right? The minute you say, I work at Social Security, they automatically think that you can answer certain questions when it comes to their particular situation.
You would expect, nonetheless, that there are certain general knowledge that one would have, right? For argument's sake, I work at Channel 5. I've been working here for over a decade. There are certain things that I should know about the company in the round. I may not be specific to marketing or production, but certain things I'd be able to say, okay, this is how it works, generally speaking, right? And so it's the same thing when you go to a bank or any other institution. When you go to the receptionist, for instance, that individual may not have the nuts and bolts with respect of any particular issue, but would be able to point you to the right person or should be able to answer some of the basic questions about the organization, institution, company, whatever it may be.
Very true. I will take that into consideration. But I do feel like they were informative, especially when it came to the elephant in the room, when it came to Pharmacy Express and of course the buzz around that. And I appreciated that they say that it is still something that is in process and that they will relay information to us once that is finished. So looking forward to seeing that, looking forward to hearing more about SSB Connect. They say that it's an education campaign that is happening on the 25th of this month at the Biltmore. More details to come as they're able to finalize certain nuts and bolts. I use your lingo. That's what was in my head.
That's right. And so, hey, it's Breast Week.
Yes, it's Breastfeeding Week.
Breastfeeding Week. And we're encouraging mothers to go back to breastfeeding. It is very important if you're looking at developing that bond with your child. It begins there. If you want your kids to be intelligent and bright when growing up, then it also begins there. They need their breast milk.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I always, it is something that, I was very surprised that is what we're discussing, because I was just under the assumption, under the assumption that is something that is encouraged, that your newborn child, you do your best to breastfeed at least up to 6 months. You know, that is what I initially thought was what everybody understood. But I did appreciate the folks from PAHO coming in, discussing what their campaign is all about, which is educate and support, all about breastfeeding and the importance of breastfeeding, not just the nutritional value, but of course everything else that comes with that, the bond with the mother and the child. It's good that Belize is at a rate where more mothers are breastfeeding their kids, and they will have more information in their webinar on their PAHO website on August 4th at 8:30 a.m.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And with that, we are concluding our Tuesday morning at OIE, because it's honestly he got a lot for this week. Work start that you'll be today. So we are doing the wrap-up session for today. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always drop us a line at oye@channel5belize.com, or you can catch us on our live stream on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, and our highlights on Instagram at OYE Belize. We thank you all so much for getting up this morning and starting your morning right with us here at Channel 5. We'll see you tomorrow, so be sure to keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open.
Bye.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.